guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Blake Chaos. Today we are going to talk Detroit Lions football in preparation for tomorrow's divisional round game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to break down how the Lions got to this point under coordinators Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. We're going to look at some key players that we have back now that we didn't play in that 20-6 win down in week 6 down in Tampa. And we're going to talk potential future moves for the coordinators Johnson and Glenn. Lastly, guys, we will predict the outcome of tomorrow's game that takes place at Ford Field in Detroit. But first, guys, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow a ton, and leave a comment below. Guys, let's talk about this. This is the first time in over 30 years that Detroit has a deep run, some playoff football to be excited for. So let's get into it, guys. Now, if I would have told you guys that the Detroit Lions would be competing for a chance to represent the NFC in a championship game at the beginning of last season, you would have called me crazy. Now, I've been called crazy before, and perhaps it was even warranted, but not about this. I recognize the regime change when Brad Holmes came in, who brought in Dan Campbell, who in turn brought in Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. And here are the numbers for these two this season, what the Lions were able to do on offense, for the 2023 season under Ben Johnson. Fifth in the NFL in points per game at 27.1. Third in total yards per game in the NFL at 394.8. Passing yards per game, second in the NFL, 258.9, and rushing yards, fifth in the NFL. So we're all top 5 in all major categories of the offense. With that, it's no fluke that he is the hottest coordinator in the game right now. And if Detroit can keep him after the end of this postseason, it'd be one of the. I don't foresee it happening. He's too good, too hot right now. Too many GMs, too many owners want him, so he's going to get paid the big bucks. Let's move on to the defense here and Aaron Glenn, what he was able to do in Detroit this season. Points allowed per game, 23.2. That's 23rd in the NFL. Yards allowed per game, 336.1. 19th in the NFL. Passing yards allowed, 247.4. 24th in the NFL. And the good stat for Aaron Glenn, his rushing yards allowed per game, only 86.4, which is the second best in the NFL. I believe only behind Cleveland. Don't quote me on that, but just absolutely stout. And at playoff time, that is exactly when you want to be stout. You want to have just a power run defense that can keep the offense in third and long situations to where it limits their playbook and what they're able to do. So that is something that's good. I mentioned it in my last video. We were okay with allowing Stafford to throw wild on us between the 20s. But once we get down in third, or in red zone or down close to the 20, when the field shortens up for the offense, they're limited on their plays that they can use to score a touchdown. That's when we became crucial, creating those field goal chances for the opposing team while we continue to put 7 on the board each time. That's how Detroit's built. That's how it's going. And that's how I feel we're going to get the win against the Rams. Let's look at some players that we have coming back for this game against Tampa Bay that we didn't have when we went down to Tampa in week 6 and got that win. We got both of our running backs, David Montgomery and the rookie sensation Jahmyr Gibbs, active for this game. I don't think people understand how dynamic of a duo that the two of them are together. Both over 1,000 yards this season, both 10 touchdowns each. The 6th time in NFL history that's ever been done by a pair of duo running backs out of the same backfield. So congratulations and shout out to them. But also we have linebacker James Houston coming back. That is huge. He is a very agile, very good in coverage linebacker that can take care of the middle. Also, he's good at getting pressure on the quarterback. He's been out since I think it was week 2, so it's going to really help out the against the passing attack for Detroit. And also shore up some run game too, free up Hutch and McNeil to make plays on Baker and disrupt his timing. CJ Gardner Johnson is also healthy this game. He wasn't then, and Jonah Jackson and Brian Branch. So that's a lot of starters that weren't there in week 6 that are here now in crunch time, the divisional round. I look for these two, Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs, to have a breakout big game, make a statement. The home field advantage, the crowd will be loud, they will be engaged. But let me know what you guys think about these players. What kind of impact do you think that they're going to have on this game? All right, guys. So obviously, when you are a coordinator as good as Ben Johnson is, you are going to draw attention to yourself. So he has 4 scheduled interviews right now throughout the league for head coach position, with the Washington Commanders, the Carolina Panthers, Seattle Seahawks, and the Los Angeles Chargers, who hired or were interviewing another coach that I respect, and Jim Harbaugh. So I do think that next year the Los Angeles Chargers will work out some kinks and they will get everything right. And Justin Herbert will have a nice, good mentor to coach him if it's one of those two guys. Uh, but let's look at Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn, his numbers aren't the greatest when it comes to his pass defense, but what this year that is, but what he knows how to do is turn it on in crunch time. If you look at that secondary, how they've been playing over the past, 5-6 weeks of the season into the playoffs, they're opportunistic, they're hungry, they're hitting hard. They're occasionally they miss tackles, that's an issue, but um, they're playing right at the right time. So Aaron Glenn more than likely will be gone next year too. He has 2 scheduled interviews with the Titans and the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think Atlanta is going to take him. I honestly see Belichick going down there. But he also has 2 request interviews, the Los Angeles Chargers and the Washington Commanders. So no big surprise there. Hot coordinators are only hot coordinators for so long until they get a head coaching position somewhere. So, but with all of that, let's get into what I predict is going to happen tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. All right, so let's get into my predictions here and the keys to getting the win. I do think Detroit will walk away with this one. I think it will be a pretty easy game, not too easy, but it will be a test. I look for the defense to be the highlight of the game. Um, I think Hutch will have a big game, maybe 2 sacks. McNeil will have a lot of good pressures on Baker. Um, I look for the secondary to be opportunistic. I'm thinking they'll probably get 2 INTs. Um, when we get that pressure on Baker over and over and over, he starts making mistakes. We all know he tries to be a gunslinger and he's not afraid to let him rip. And I think we can capitalize on that. I think the offense will come out, start heavy, you know, put 10 to 14 up in the first quarter, establish the lead that way. Going into half, I'm thinking 14-3, something like that. Um, putting the clock in their favor in the second half and doing a more run heavy second half approach, letting that secondary, letting that defense kind of shine and highlight, show that they are capable under Aaron Glenn and they are ready for this stage in this moment. Um, you know, that's the one thing about Detroit that's still talked about in such a negative light is their secondary. They let up a lot of yards. They let the number one wide receiver for each team have big weeks against them. And I understand that. It scares me too, but I'm not too worried about it because if you go back and you look at all of the different plays where they give up these big chunk yards against the number one wide receiver on the opponent, it's usually it's never really for a touchdown. It's usually just for 30, 40, 20 yards here and there. Um, so I think that that's going to continue. More field goals from Tampa Bay. I do see him getting one score. Look for an Evans big play. I think Evans will have maybe 130, 135 yards, something like that. Um, but I'm real curious to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts about this game? Let me know in the comments below. Other than that, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.